Welcome back to another video, everybody. I hope you're all doing very well. Today we are in Cairns, so in northern Queensland, and I thought I would just run through my top 5 places that I think that everybody needs to visit whilst they're in Cairns. I just thought this would be a fun way, a bit of a change up from the vlog style videos that I've been doing recently, to just show you what we've been up to and also give you guys some ideas of where you can visit whilst you're in Cairns. It's such a beautiful place, there's so much to see. You've got the ocean, you've got the rainforests, you've got like inland in the Allerton Tablelands, and then you've obviously got the Great Barrier Reef as well, and lots of islands off the coast. So there's so much to do, so much to see. But these are my top 5 things that we've done whilst we've been in Cairns, and I hope you enjoy the video. So number 5 is visiting Fitzroy Island. So Fitzroy Island is literally just off the coast from Cairns. You can get a ferry across for the day. You can either just use the ferry, or there's tour packages that have lots of different things included. We actually decided to go for a tour package because it included lunch, it included snorkeling equipment, and it was only like a couple of dollars more than the actual ferry price. So we decided that we couldn't actually make lunch and get snorkeling equipment for the same price, so we ended up doing that. And it's a really beautiful island. It's got reefs all around it, really clear blue water, so you can go snorkeling. There's also a turtle rehabilitation sanctuary there, so you can go and visit that. Unfortunately, when we were there it was closed, so we weren't able to go and visit that, but I know that that's a real highlight of the island as well. If you are a keen walker or hiker, there's multiple hikes and walks on the island as well. We decided not to do any that day. We were more interested in doing like the snorkeling side of things, so we actually spent most of our time on the beach. So I believe that Fitzroy Island, most people know it for a place called Nudie Beach, and we did go there to start with. However, it was pretty busy and the water was sort of crashing right onto the shore, so we actually ended up just going back to the main beach just off from where the ferry moored, and we just went there instead, and we saw loads of fish. It was a little bit cloudy, like the water was cloudy, not the sky, and so visibility was not the best. But that didn't stop us from snorkeling. We actually stayed snorkeling for quite a long time, saw quite a few different fish and things. Unfortunately, no turtles, which I was very sad about because I was hoping to see turtles. Also, if you don't just want to go for the day, there are options to stay in camp on the island, and you can also stay in a hotel on the island. There's different accommodations and things, so if that's something you're interested in, definitely look into it. We did just end up going for the day. That was more than enough for us, but I feel like it'd be a really special place to stay, like just waking up on the island in the morning and there's nobody about. I can imagine it being really beautiful. Do note though, it's like a foot passenger only kind of thing. You can't take any sort of transport across to the island, and there's not really any roads there either, so it is mainly just sort of walking. So if you are going to camp, you've got to like carry your tent and stuff with you. But yeah, really beautiful place, would highly recommend going. Number 4 is taking a trip to Mossman Gorge in the Daintree rainforest. Now, if you go to Australia, you have to go to a rainforest. They're just such incredible places, like they are literally like nothing else. And Mossman Gorge was somewhere that we really wanted to go. We'd seen lots of things about it being really beautiful, and so we took a trip up there. So it's roughly about an hour and a half from Cairns, sort of hour 15, hour and a half by car. You can just hire a car for the day, it's not too expensive. I believe there are tours as well that take you up there, but we were traveling as a group, so we thought it would be cheap to just hire a car and do it ourselves. And along the way we actually stopped at Port Douglas as well, so if you're going to do this, I would highly recommend stopping here. It's really beautiful, there's some great views, some great beaches, lovely little shops and things, so definitely worth exploring. Maybe popping in for some lunch somewhere. Definitely stop at Port Douglas on the way, and then when you've done that, carry on up to Mossman Gorge. And there's a cultural centre there that you can park at, and then they've got buses that take you up into the gorge, so it just means that it's not full of cars and not sort of overcrowded, which is really lovely. It was sort of $14.50 each, and you could literally go back and forth as many times as you wanted throughout the day. So we just parked the car and then got the bus up to the gorge area, and there you can actually swim as long as the water levels are all right, and there's also some hikes you can do as well. So we did a little hike, and it was about an hour and a half loop walk through the rainforest, really beautiful. And the great thing was as well, they had boards everywhere that was telling you about all the different wildlife, the plants, the animals, the trees, the Aboriginal stories and things like that. So it was really interesting because we were learning whilst we were walking as well. And everything was really well maintained in terms of like the footpaths and things like that. They do also do guided tours, so Dreamtime guided tours by Aboriginal guides, but we didn't end up doing one of those. We just did the hike ourselves, and then we just went for a swim afterwards. Water was really cold, but once you were in, it was fine and crystal clear again, really beautiful. The only thing I would say was that the current was quite strong in certain places, so definitely just be a bit wary of that and just make sure that the water's safe and everything before you're going in. But again, really fantastic day out, really beautiful. Just the drive up there along the coast was incredible. We stopped off at so many places along the way because there was just so many beautiful viewpoints. There was one point where we stopped off because there was these paragliders that were jumping off the side of the cliff, and the views across the ocean and the beaches up there were just incredible. There was just so many long stretches of sandy beaches with palm trees. It looked like something out of a film, like it just didn't look real. It was incredible. So definitely worth a trip out for the day, up to Daintree, up to Mossman Gorge and to Port Douglas as well and the surrounding areas. Number 3, this was really hard to decide where this went because there was just so many incredible things, and if I hadn't had 2 and 1, this would have definitely been number 1 on the list because we had such a fantastic day doing this, and it was pretty much free, which is incredible. It was just all natural beauty spots and we had the best time. So bucket list number 3 is doing the Waterfalls circuit. So there are so many beautiful swimming spots, waterfalls, just beautiful water areas slightly south of Cairns. So you've got the ones in the Atherton Tableland, you've got some sort of slightly further south like Babinda Boulders near the coast. There's just so many beautiful waterfalls around there. So besides hiring a car and paying for the fuel, it didn't cost us anything. We took our own food and we literally just drove around loads and loads of different waterfall places for the day. And it was so much fun. Like, it was really good. We pretty much just sat in the car in our swimwear. Obviously it was a hire car, so we did end up sitting on like shopping bags with our towels and stuff because we just stayed in our swimwear all day, and we'd drive to a place, get out, have a swim, have a nosy around, get back in and then go on to the next place. So I would highly recommend doing this. Again, I believe there's tours where you can book on and they will take you around so you're not having to drive. So maybe if you're on your own and you're doing it, you could go with a tour group and it'd be a nice way to make some friends and stuff like that. But there was 3 of us because there was me, my boyfriend and my sister, and so it just made more sense for us to hire a car and do it ourselves. So the places that we went to Babinda Boulders, which was just south of Cairns. Really beautiful, the most incredible stream, river, whatever you want to call it, with boulders just like the name suggests, and some really lovely swimming spots. The only thing I would say is there are some sections there that are really dangerous. When you go, you'll see there's signs everywhere that says don't swim here, so just don't swim in those areas. But then other than that, there's other places sort of further up where it's much calmer and you could swim there. And actually the place we swam at, I would recommend going to. It's a little bit hidden. So basically once you're there in the car park, there's a kids play area, and you want to sort of walk around the back of the kids play area, and there's a path there. So I believe there's a sign that points you down the Goldfield Trail, I think it's called, and you want to head down there. It's not far at all, maybe like 100 meters or something down there, and then on your left there's like an opening and you'll see people there swimming, and that bit's really fun because there's a big boulder in the water that's got some steps up the back. Someone's put a ladder at the back and you can climb up it, and then you can jump off the boulder into the water. And a bit like up at Mossman Gorge, the water is crystal clear, really beautiful, really refreshing, so a lovely place to go on a hot day. The only thing I would say about all of these places is if you're leaving from Cairns, you probably want to set off fairly early in the morning because they do tend to get quite busy. So the earlier you can sort of get up, get going, the quieter these spots are going to be and the less people that are going to be there. But yeah, really beautiful, would highly recommend going there. The next place that we went to was Josephine Falls. Now this was super fun, this was so cool, I've never done anything like this before. Basically, you can slide down this waterfall, you can slide down the rocks there. It was a little bit slippy, a little bit sketchy climbing up to the top and going across, but it was so much fun. So you have to go there if you're doing the Waterfalls trail. Really good. Like I said, it does get a little bit busy at times, but lots of other people tend to be doing this trail where they're sort of going to one place and then moving on afterwards. So it sort of ebbs and flows. So yeah, you've got to go there, you've got to slide down the rocks. If you've got a GoPro, take the GoPro, it's so much fun. Then if you do like a little bit of a drive, you will head towards Millaa Falls. Now, some people might have heard of Millaa Falls before because it's actually in some old commercials for Herbal Essence, I believe, and Garnier, I think it is. So you might recognise the waterfall when you get there, but it's really picturesque, really beautiful. Again, you can swim there, and actually on the way there, there's a couple of other waterfalls that you can go to along the way as well. So I'm just checking my notes here for the names of them. So, okay, so you've got Zillie Falls as well. You've also got Elinjaa Falls, and you've got Tchupala Falls, and you've got Wallicher Falls. Apologies if I'm pronouncing those wrong. I will put the names on the screen, and I will also leave the names in the description as well, so you can have a look. With all of those, some of them you could swim in, some of them you couldn't swim in. So just have a look on the internet before you go. Just make sure that they're safe as well. It also depends on how high the water levels are, how fast the water is. So just check online first. I think it usually tells you on the national park websites what's safe, what's not. And also just see what other people are doing. Like, if other people are swimming in it, if it's really busy, then it's probably fine. But if there's nobody in there, maybe just be a bit cautious. But again, all really beautiful places to go to, and all sort of really close by each other, like literally maybe like 5 minutes drive between all of these different waterfalls. So definitely worth making your way around and stopping off at each of them on the way. On the way back as well, there is a place called Walshs Pyramid, and when you've driven down, you'll have seen it on the way. And it's this giant hill that literally looks like this, and there's a road where you can get some super cool photos. I've seen so many of these pictures on Instagram, and we actually stumbled across it because we went and did a hike on another day. It's a different waterfall near there. Again, I'll put the name of that on the screen if you want to do that. All I would say is I would warn you that you literally go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down to get up to this waterfall. I think you can swim there, but it just seemed a bit risky. There was a lot of water the day we went, so we decided we didn't want to swim after all that hiking. Really beautiful, but it is literally like vertically up and down, and it's a bit demoralising because you feel like you're nearly there and then you go down again. But yeah, on the way back from there, we found this road that everybody's got all over social media. Yeah, and it was just so cool. You've literally got this pyramid in the background with like a long road, and the sun was setting, and it was so beautiful. I'll insert some pictures here of some of the shots we got. But yeah, I would highly recommend visiting there as well. It's so beautiful. Just decide if you want to do the hike or not, because personally I probably wouldn't do it again. I didn't think it was really worth it. There was so many other nice waterfalls that you didn't have to do this huge hike for. But if you just like hiking, then maybe go for it. But yeah, that's another place that's worth visiting. This Waterfalls trail is basically going to be a whole day thing. Like, you're probably going to want to leave at like 6 in the morning, and realistically you're probably not going to be getting back till like 6 in the evening. So again, just check the daylight hours. If you're driving in the countryside, don't drive when it's dark. Just be aware of the wildlife, because obviously there's kangaroos and things that jump around and go across the roads, and you really don't want to be hitting one of those. And I'm pretty sure your hire car company will probably say, like, don't drive in the dark outside the city, so just be aware of that when you're planning your trips, because this one will probably take you a while because there is quite a lot of driving in between each different place, but you've got to go. It was one of the best things that we did in Cairns. I honestly absolutely loved it. It was so incredible, and if you're on a bit of a budget as well, this was probably one of the cheapest things we did. Yes, we'd hired a car, but we'd actually hired a car for the whole time we were up there, just because we had 3 of us and our van only has 2 seats. If you've already got the car, like I said, the only thing you are literally paying for is the car hire and the fuel. All the other things that you would do that day are free, so it is a really, really great option if you're trying to do things on a budget. Bucket list number 2 in Cairns is going to Kuranda on the Kuranda Scenic Railway and then getting the Skyrail back. Now, I've got to caveat this in that I love old trains. I love anything trains, and so this for me was just the most incredible experience. And to be fair, my sister and my boyfriend absolutely loved it as well, so I think if you don't love trains, you're gonna love it anyway, because this was just the most amazing day. Basically, we got the scenic railway all the way up to this little town called Kuranda, and then we got the Skyrail, which is like a cable car, back down into Cairns, and you just have to go. You really do. You get the most incredible views. They tell you all the story about how the railway was built, how lots of the surrounding areas were actually basically built because of the railway being there, and it was the way that they were able to transport food around and things in the olden days. And it's just an incredible story, and so crazy that these people built this railway literally in the side of a hill in a rainforest in horrific conditions. Like, it was just so hot, and then obviously the rainy season, it was so wet, and just thinking that they built this thing hundreds of years ago is just astonishing. But that's like only part of the thing, because the other part of the thing is that the scenery is just incredible. You get the most amazing views. There's waterfalls, there's rivers, there's like canyons, there's everything. And then you're in these old carriages. I was just having like the best time and would highly recommend it. I would also recommend doing it that way as well, like going up on the train and then coming back on the Skyrail. Lots of people do it the other way around, but I feel like if you do it that way, it's really like magical arriving into the actual town, because it feels like such an amazing experience. It feels like you're literally arriving at this magical place in the middle of a jungle on this magical old-fashioned train. It feels a little bit like Harry Potter and the Hogwarts Express kind of thing. But yeah, would highly recommend it. I feel like I've said highly a million times here. Even Kuranda itself is such a lovely little place. It's got loads of little shops selling sort of local items. There's a market area as well. There's also a butterfly garden that you can go in, I think. We didn't go in there, but I know lots of people go there for that. There's just lots of things to do, lots of places to see, lots of little shops to go to, cafes, restaurants, all that. So you can actually spend quite a bit of time there. And then when you get the scenic rail back down, you're in this cable car, you're going across the top of the rainforest. So obviously on the way there, you're going through the rainforest in the train, and then on the way back, you're going over the top, and you can just see how huge this rainforest is. There's also a huge waterfalls there that you can go to as well, and on the cable car it stops off in various places on the way down as well, and so you can stop off, get out, have a look around. Again, there's information boards everywhere, so you're learning about where you are at the same time, and it's just a really, really interesting thing to do, and just such a fantastic day out for everybody. Like, I feel like it's the sort of thing you can do with little kids, but then also with, say, teenagers and then adults. And I think even if you had sort of a disability or something, I think everything's fairly accessible as well, so it's very inclusive, and I feel like everybody could get involved in it, so it is a really, really lovely thing to do. The other thing that's really great as well is that transfers are included in the price of the tickets. So the Skyrail actually finishes outside of Cairns City, but like they offer transport back to the city, and to various other places as well within the city. So it can be really, really good if you've not got a car or anything like that, because it will take you back to where you want to be. And then the same option for sort of going out there, you can get on the train at a few different stops. You don't just have to get on at Cairns City Station. So it is quite flexible, the timings are flexible, and it's just a really, really special day out. I think it wasn't particularly expensive either. We just went for the general heritage class, as they call it, and it was $135 per person, and that included the railway on the way up, and then also the sky rail on the way back down, and the transfers as well. So if you want to do it railway first and then sky rail on the way back, you do have to do it through the railway website, not the sky rail website. But if you want to do it the other way, then you book it through the sky rail website, but just be aware of that. And you can't just actually directly book it online. You do have to sort of send an inquiry saying that you're interested in doing it, and they'll then send you a link to book it. So it's a little bit complicated, but I really do think it's worth doing it that way around and booking railway then sky rail on the way back. And finally, the moment you've all been waiting for, number one on our bucket list, and if you've not guessed it by now, it is going to the Great Barrier Reef. Now this has been on one of my life bucket list for as long as I can remember. I have always wanted to go scuba diving at the Great Barrier Reef, and so I cannot tell you how excited I was to do this. It's been one of my dreams since I was really, really little to go here, and I feel like it's the same for lots of people. It's something you've been told about from a really young age, and so being able to go and experience it was just an incredible moment. The only thing was that I have never done scuba diving before, and so I didn't know if I was actually going to be able to do it. And the great thing was we found a company where you didn't have to have done scuba diving before, you didn't have to be certified, and you could still go and do a dive down to the Great Barrier Reef, which is fantastic. So we actually used a company called Reef Experience, and it was a company that our friends had used a few months before when they'd gone up to Cairns to visit, and they'd said nothing but good things about it. And we did some research into a few different companies. There's lots and lots of brochures, lots and lots of companies that do reef experiences where you go out on a boat for the day to the Great Barrier Reef, and lots of different things are included, and then they also bring you home at the end. And this one that our friends did actually looked like the best one out of all of them, and it was actually probably one of the cheaper ones as well, but we ended up opting for them for the Reef Experience one, and it was fantastic. It was $245 per person, and this included all your scuba diving gear, snorkeling gear as well. It also included breakfast in the morning, you got lunch at lunchtime, so like a buffet lunch, you got cheese and wine in the afternoon, you got drink like coffee and things throughout the day, things like sun cream were obviously included, and then they also had a marine biology presentation, which was so interesting because they told us about the bits of the reef that we were going to visit, the sorts of wildlife you'd see there, what's been happening over the years with climate change and things like that. So it was really, really interesting, and I feel like we got a lot for our money because we were literally out there all day. We left fairly early in the morning and we got back sort of 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The only thing I would say is keep putting your sun cream on, because I put what I thought was lots of sun cream on and then went in the water and it obviously washed off, and then I got out and then got burnt. So yeah, definitely put your sun cream on. But no, it was fantastic. We went snorkeling in the morning and it was a little bit choppy, but you could see so much. Even just from snorkeling, you didn't have to do the scuba diving if you didn't want to. You could just see everything. It was incredible. And then we got a scuba diving session with an instructor, so because none of us were qualified, we did have to stay connected to an instructor on our first dive, and they taught us like how to do everything, so like pressurize our ears and stuff, and the instructor was like managing our airflow and stuff, so we weren't having to worry about any of that, just sort of enjoy the experience and see the wildlife. So we saw quite a few fish and things, which was amazing. And then in the afternoon you could opt to pay for another dive, so I think it's $70 per person to pay for another dive, or you could just go snorkeling again. So me and my boyfriend Myron, we did actually end up paying for another dive, and we were so glad that we did, because it meant that we could see so much more, because on this dive we actually went sort of further away from the boat with the instructor and we had a little bit more freedom, and we saw a turtle, which was amazing. I don't have any footage of it because you weren't allowed to take like GoPros and stuff just because you were learning, but we saw so much coral and things. It was a shame because you could see the damage that's been done to the coral. Like you could see the difference in certain areas where there was just huge patches of dead coral and then huge patches where it was obviously thriving and fine. But it was really interesting to see how it's been affected by like climate change and global warming. And apparently we were in sort of one of the more remote parts of the reef as well, so it's a bit sad, a bit scary, but I don't want to put a downer on it. It was an amazing day, an incredible day. You definitely have to do it if you are up in Cairns. Like, I feel like this is on so many people's bucket lists, so yeah, just go. Even if you don't want to scuba dive, go snorkeling, go in the water, have a look at everything. You can actually do an experience where you stay at the reef, which I would love to do, but it's a bit expensive. But if you've got the money to do that, definitely do that. Highly recommend the company we went with, not sponsored or anything, but I will leave a link in the description below if you're interested in having a look at them. And yeah, that is the last one on the bucket list. Of course that was going to be number one on the bucket list, but what can I say? It was incredible, once in a lifetime experience opportunity. Anyway, that's it, that's the bucket list. I hope you've enjoyed it, I hope you found it useful. I'll leave links in the description for the places that we went to and the names of the providers we used. None of it's sponsored or anything, but just for your sort of information. If you're going to Cairns, if you're looking for tour providers and things like that, those are the ones that we used. One of the other things that I will say is definitely go into Cairns itself, go to the waterfront, have a look around. There's a really beautiful Lido there and it's free. You can go swimming on the waterfront and it's really pretty in the daytime, and there's loads of little shops and sort of food markets and things like that. Particularly if you like Asian cuisine, there's loads of really good little vendors there selling really yummy food, so definitely go and check it out. Have a look around the shops and just have a wander around the city, go experience it, because it is very different. I feel like all the places in Australia are all quite different to each other. Also, if you do have a hire car, would highly recommend also going to Crystal Cascades. It's just outside Cairns and it's actually where we stayed. We stayed in a campsite just next to there called the Crystal Cascades campsite. Again, really fantastic campsite, absolutely love staying there. I'll put a link in the description for them. But again, some really lovely waterfalls where you can go chill on a hot day, and the water was really lovely as well there, so another bonus place to go if you are in Cairns. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video and you'll join me in my next one. In my next video we're actually going to be exploring outback Queensland, which I'm very excited about because I feel like not many people go there. Most people tend to stick to the coast in Queensland, but I've seen so many great things about outback Queensland, so hopefully you'll join me on my next video and might give you some inspiration and hopefully encourage you to go and visit as well. But for now, thank you so much for watching and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Again, please don't forget to like, subscribe and comment. It really helps my channel and I really appreciate you being here and watching these videos, and hopefully you enjoy them and you're getting something useful out of them. Alright, see you in my next video. Bye!